how do you feel, first of all, as a Kenyan, and secondly, as a president?
Terrible.
That it is your government that has to pay this?
Terrible. Terrible. Terrible.
Clearly a painful decision to make for the president, who has now authorized a one-bullet payment of the 1.4 billion shillings for 2 Anglo Leasing type contracts.
We are faced with a challenge that myself and the majority of Kenyans believe we should not be paying. The courts have deemed that we must pay. We have gone to the highest level, including appealing it, and we have been told again we must pay. So the choice that we have is to say that we do not respect international law because we ourselves believe that we shouldn't pay, right? And then suffer the consequences of that. Or we pay, and then we are left as Kenyans to continue chasing for that money through other means.
The government, he says, cannot access the sovereign bond it so much needs to fund the budget unless it shows commitment to its international obligations. The only outstanding international debts at this point being those owed to First Mercantile Securities Operation and Universal Subspace, which collectively add up to 1.4 billion shillings. But even more worrying for the president is a 260,000 shilling penalty charge for each day that Kenya fails to honor the court orders from the London and Swiss courts. Paying this is a lesser evil, the president says, even though he recommended the cancellation of the contracts in question, among others, back in 2006 when he was the chairman of the Parliamentary Public Accounts Committee.
We lost the case. We didn't win it. The fact that we didn't win it doesn't mean that I have changed my position. I maintain my position. But as President of the Republic of Kenya, I have a responsibility for 40 million Kenyans. And given that responsibility, we had issued this, we were going to issue this Eurobond. It was part of our budget. We were looking for that 132 billion shillings.
For the opposition, however, this is not reason enough, and it remains a reward to fraud.
The rationale given by the president is at best laughable and at worst cynical.
What we are seeing is digital corruption.
Those criticizing the government for making this payment argue that it will open a floodgate for similar claims from the other 11 unresolved Anglo Leasing type contracts.
We cannot afford to lose any more cases, because I believe we have sufficient evidence as to why these should not be paid. But it is unfortunate that we had these rulings, and this was even before I came into office. So we must, as Kenyans, I am putting pressure on the State Law Office. I am asking Parliament to continue to put pressure to ensure that we up our game, and we should not lose these cases, because I believe there is clear evidence of misdeed in those transactions.
The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has been pursuing the shadowy masterminds of the projects initially valued at 56 billion shillings collectively. The president, however, wants investigations opened afresh. In addition to the 1.4 billion shillings now paid by the government, another 6.8 billion shillings was paid off for 3 contracts said to have been completed during the regime of retired President Mwai Kibaki. A settlement of 5.2 billion shillings was also made for 2 projects classified as partly completed. 1 billion shillings was apparently recovered for some 4 other contracts valued at 18 billion shillings that were cancelled when the scandal first broke out, for some 6 contracts worth 16.6 billion shillings that were partially completed. Sylvia Chebet, Citizen Weekend, Nairobi.